going on, everybody? You are live with Osiris. Welcome to the Author's Lounge. The world is filled with storytellers, and I, along with my guests, are here today in the Author's Lounge to help educate and inspire the young generation of writers and creators. Now, my guests are professionals in publishing, writers from a wide range of formats, and successful entertainers. They will provide beneficial advice on what to do and what not to do on your path to success. So, without further ado, I'll present to you our next guest. Let's go. Our next guest, he's a filmmaker of one. He's a producer and writer that specializes in animation. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pietro Schito.
Perfect pronunciation. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I
I
know
gotta thank my
it
wife
gets
for it,
tricky. Yeah.
gotta thank my wife on helping me with the with a little bit of the Spanish tongue. But nonetheless, man, thank you so much for coming by today. So, how's everything going with you over there in Mexico?
Yes, I'm Italian and moved to Mexico many years ago, and everything's going well. It's a vibrant animation community here, and I got to meet wonderful animators and people on different medium, from stop motion to indie CG studios, and it's really interesting. The culture of Mexico is amazing. For me to come from Italy, it was such a surprise, and I keep discovering and learning about this, and learning how I can work anywhere in the world from here. So that is pretty fantastic. We also have, just wanted to add that we were blessed with a reality started by director Guillermo del Toro that created years ago stop motion studio here, where they created part of the Academy Award winning film Pinocchio, and part of the film was produced here. I didn't work directly on that film, but I've been around and I've been collaborating with the studio, and it's amazing. So that it's something that it's a great surprise of from Italy coming to Guadalajara, Mexico, and then discovering that I'm kind of closer to Hollywood from here than I used to be when I was studying in Los Angeles.
Yeah, man. So let's hop on that while we're on that topic. So Guillermo del Toro, I freaking love that guy. You know, my wife, she's a huge fan of his. Me specifically, I know he did a project with Hideo Kojima on this video game
Yeah.
slash movie like called Death Stranding, and not to really dive too deep into that, but I'm a fan of his work. Just off of that alone. So stop motion. So I know you do animation. Is stop motion one of your more skilled assets that you have the ability to do?
That's a great question because I work a lot in animation. I always loved to draw when I was a little kid, but then I kind of left the drawing skill aside and focused more on the writing, and recently
Hmm.
more producing. And maybe some of you are listening and think that they cannot work in animation if they have no drawing skills. Many of us, we don't draw directly. We
Hmm.
enjoy the craft, and so I don't animate directly. I don't draw. I focus on the story aspect and creative producing. I love the animation community. I love how you get to collaborate with everyone. Animation is collaboration. It's so different from live action, not in terms of what you write on the page, but the fact that the process is really, really collaborative. And so that is what I love. And I started loving stop motion more and more. I mean, I grew up watching a lot of stop motion, from Arman to the more artsy stuff. And coming here, I discovered that here in Guadalajara there was a stop motion culture and legacy that was very important that I didn't know about. I started collaborating with some of the directors working on stop motion, and I absolutely love the idea. You get on set and you see real puppets. You see,
Yeah.
it's and the process. I admire animators. I'm not an animator. It's so incredible to see them getting in the zone and spending hours and hours on those projects. So, that's my relationship with stop motion. And we
I
have a
love it,
little
man.
Pinocchio there.
Oh, I can't quite see it.
Because, yeah, it's we actually need to repair this guy, because it stopped lying, and so
Oh,
it lost the
oh
nose.
wow. Yeah, and that's a
Yeah.
part of the stop motion piece.
Well, that's a replica. It's not the original, but from Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and so a great puppet maker gave it to us. We need to put the nose back.
Oh yeah, yeah. We need to know when he's lying or not. So
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
no,
Now
for
I
sure.
cannot. I never know if he's tricking me or not. So I just
No, for sure.
don't
He
pay
probably
attention.
smacked his own nose off, man. But
Yeah.
all jokes aside, I think that's wonderful. I think that's also wonderful that you managed to leave your home and go to another spot that you can now call home and find your community there. One of the things I was speaking with this executive producer recently, right? I know I was talking to you before the recording. His name was
Yeah.
Doctor Eddie Gamarra, and Gamarra. There we go. Like get the correct pronunciation. He told me that a lot of Hollywood, right? Because he lives right in the mecca of Hollywood. A lot of Hollywood, they're leaving Hollywood and they're going elsewhere because of the just the extra pay that's going with having the film in California. And with that, there's such an extensive list of areas where people can go and film. I had no clue where you're located at was almost like a hub for stop motion. And in the same aspect, I think it's important to know where you are going and knowing that, hey, I'm going here to be with the crowd of people who I can relate to, that I can make this magic with. So, with that being said, how much of a, I guess, how great of a transition was it from Italy to where you are right now for your career?
Yeah, it was amazing because I think it goes beyond what the industry was at the moment. Actually, I think that I was blessed with a project that brought in into Mexico filmmakers from all around the world, people from Cuba, Italy, the U.S., Argentina, a lot of countries, and we were here to explore the storytelling in general and creating short films. My decision to go was more jumping on an adventure. I was in my 20s, and I was you know considering joining the Disney Academy in Milan, and but things were they were taking a while, and so I decided to come here to explore for a few months.
Yeah.
And those months became almost 17, 16 years, and I have a family here, and I'm super happy. And but it went beyond the coming here for what is the industry, because we all know the amazing directors coming from here. Del Toro is one, and the most known are Alfonso Cuarón, and the trios, and Iñárritu, and there are many more, of course. But people from Italy and from the U.S., they would tell me, why Mexico? It's not like you're moving to Hollywood. And but I thought that it was more about creating your team and your group, and the fact that I always loved technology, and I always knew that the more we advance, the easier it will be to work remotely. Just this call we are having,
Right.
it's a testament of that. And also, I was going back to the to the Disney Academy, and the and then I got offered a scholarship to study in Los Angeles, and so I thought I'd stay in Mexico to as a way also to go back and forth to LA, because we were very close to LA. And
Hmm.
I mean, it's still, you need to jump on a plane, but it's still way closer than Italy, and so
Right.
that was for me important. And I studied there in LA and started connecting there. Then I moved back to Mexico, and I felt like I had this question on my head. Well, how can I make it so everything around me has to do with storytelling and animation in particular? So I started as a hobby to create a community and a YouTube channel, and probably
Hmm.
similar to your idea, to be able to connect with so many great guests that you have
Hmm.
here. And it started growing, and that's called Right for Animation. And it's a
Yeah.
YouTube channel where we bring together people from top talent from the industry, and connect it to inspire and teach a younger generation. So it's a lot of free material online, and I'm super happy because from here now I still connect with people in LA, and that was kind of the journey, and it's unexpected, but jumping on the adventure is the first step that leads to amazing things, I believe.
Absolutely. You taking that leap of faith too.
Yeah.
Some people really struggle with the idea of actually getting out there and doing it. And when I meet people such as yourself and seeing how that has seemingly worked out for the best for these individuals, I think that's all that matters, man, at the end of it all. And so also, I know I mentioned that we spoke previously, before the recording, about a couple of things, but one of those things that we spoke about dealt with your screenwriter side, right?
Yes.
And so I'm not sure what you're allowed to say. I don't know if you signed an NDA or anything. So just generally speaking, as a screenwriter, what is the concept for you that you generally look at like, I like that idea. Like, for example, I'm in front of trees right now. So, I like these trees. This could turn into something. Like, how do you form your ideas, and also how do those ideas turn into a screenplay?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great question because sometimes we have an overload of ideas. We have so many ideas, and sometimes we really try to think hard about an idea, but we never get to something that we can grasp and work on. And I see as a recurring theme for many young filmmakers the problem or the perception of the problem of how to pick the right idea when you have a lot of different ideas. I would reply that in two ways. One is more straightforward, and I notice with myself first that many times we have these either or situations where I have two ideas. Which one should I do this one or should I do this other one? And my answer to that usually is yes, do both. I mean, start with one, and so sometimes it takes more to stay in the analysis paralysis than just picking one and going for it. And so I encourage people to start creating the minimum viable version of a story. So we were talking about books, and I mentioned the children book that should be around here. Anyway, that was an idea that I had for a short film that was going to be animated, and it's a story of a stork. So you have feathers, a flying scene, a lot of it was going to be expensive, but it was sitting there for a while, and then I thought, how can I bring life to this if I don't have the budget? So bringing life to something, it doesn't mean that you have to publish a book. It could be that maybe you write a log line and you hire an artist for a beautiful piece of art, and then you have a poster and a log line, and at least you can share that with someone. It can mean that maybe you write a synopsis, or maybe you write a full script, and or maybe you try to do a Kickstarter campaign and start funding. And so my advice is to really think about how can you bring life to every story you have. Maybe it's just a logline and one sentence representing the entire film. And then now answering a little more in a more practical way, if you really want to focus on deciding which story you should, you're kind of indecisive. I totally understand the question, because to embark on a journey to to create a film, it's a lot. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of effort. Long hours and things like that. So I understand that you don't just start with the first idea you have. It's good to have that question. I would start by pitching the idea. Go with friends and tell them the story as if you were just exiting a movie theater and telling the story. See how it resonates. You ask people. We have a community online called the Right for Animation Academy for people that want to take their animation journey seriously, and I always encourage the members to post their ideas there, and so other people would comment, oh, I really love this one. So when people they throw out 3-4 ideas, you usually see how people their eyes they brighten up when they listen one idea and they say, well, that is amazing, you absolutely have to do that. And then there is also the high concept, the idea of a high concept idea. So it's a story that the premise itself, it sparks curiosity. It really puts you in the wanting for more, hunger for more. So the classic example that I always think of when I think about a high concept is Jurassic Park, for example. Okay, what if you can resuscitate dinosaurs and put them in a park. What can go wrong? And that logline can spark
Yeah.
your imagination. And so that is a great and also something that has to do with you personally. The more
Yeah.
personal, the more universal.
Yeah, that's true. There's truth in fiction, truth in storytelling. And I think that as a writer creating a story, it is imperative that you speak from your truth. If you give somebody, for example, if you know that, sci-fi fantasy is not really my thing, I can't relate to it in any aspect. I'm a nonfiction writer. Not me, but just
Yeah, yeah. As
technically
an
speaking.
example.
Right. Then even if you get hired to write a sci-fi fantasy because maybe someone like lied on their resume and said I can do X, Y, and Z, but in your heart that's not where it is, then it will translate in the story. A lot of soul is felt in the story that comes from somebody who's coming from their soul. They're just pouring it out onto paper, regardless of what the story looks like. If you're putting your truth into it, it's going to come out in a more genuine manner than had it been if it just came from a place of emptiness. So, but I wanted to ask, right? Because while on the topic of films, short films, student films, independent films, feature films, whatever the medium is of the particular film, there's always a process to it. Now, I know we're in a new era when it comes to recording movies. People use their phones with the high 4K quality to record a film and they put it on YouTube. But when it comes to writing a short film, as an example, what is I guess a an appropriate length of a screenplay for a short film that you would want to put up on YouTube?
Yeah, I love that idea. I think that the medium of YouTube, the fact that we can put out something and find an audience is amazing. And I think that we don't have any idea of the power. I cannot get into the details, but I'm currently working for some YouTubers and they have more than 15 million subscribers. That's all I can say for now, but it has to do with the idea of growing an audience and being able to put out a short film there, and that can be then watched by many people. You're skipping Hollywood altogether, and I love Hollywood. I'm nothing against, of course, I've it has its problems, but it's not like I'm a completely anti. Big studio system. I think that some major productions could only exist in that environment, despite all the problems that the industry might have. But I recently wrote an article for creative screenwriting and showing this other path, this alternative, where many screenwriters and producers are just skipping the system and putting things out there. An example is the shows that are on YouTube that are collecting millions and millions of views, selling merchandise, and some of them are picked up by Netflix and other studios and streamers. So going back to the specificity of your question of a short film, there's no direct difference on how you would approach the screenplay. But I want to offer an important advice that I see so many young filmmakers failing at this particular element of storytelling. So because a short film is contained, it's just a few minutes, many people, and I think you can relate to this as an author and writer yourself, they don't grasp exactly what a story is. A story is not an event, it's not a joke, it's not a surprise. And particularly the surprise element, it's something that I think it's affecting a lot of young filmmakers, that when they approach a short film, they start creating a super interesting situation, and the climax of the short film is, wait, you thought this was going on, here's a big revelation that changes everything you were thinking. Mm-hmm. And then the movie ends. And that is a big problem because it has a big impact at the moment, but it's like very superficial. You're intrigued by the surprise, you're kind of, okay, I'm surprised, but being surprised is not the effect we want. Being surprised is just something that it's great, and it's just like being scared. And I mean, if you scare me, it's not like you created a horror movie, because it's not about just scared. You need to tell me a story, and the story gives you something to bring home, something that if you watch the short film, you get home in the car and you're thinking about it. And a
Right.
story it doesn't need to have a happy ending or a conclusion, but a
Mhm.
surprise is not a story. And so many people, and then they can even get a lot of awards in the festival circuit. But if those people then try to create a short film or a feature film or a series, they will find out very quickly and in a very hard way that a surprise is not a story. And when you need to create something longer, then you cannot rely on a surprise. So I know it's very specific, but I believe it's the number one mistake I see over and over and over again. A great short film has a protagonist where you have you care for them. It's all about emotional connection, and you want to care for this protagonist. You want to have a clear obstacle, and also a journey of trying to get to a resolution, try to
Mhm.
get to a catharsis, a moment where they realize something. And it doesn't always need to be the three-act structure. It doesn't always be to be all the elements of a classical film. But if you think about it, that's how we experience reality. We always
Mhm.
think in terms of beginning, middle, and end.
And then,
And even if you hate Hollywood, if you really wanna subvert everything, well, we still experience a short film in time. So we hit play, and there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. Just that
got
an experience in time. Would you like the most boring part to be at the end? Well, you can do
nah.
it, but it's not like you usually not. So that's why the structure, the three-act structure, is not like a Hollywood thing, or not even an Aristotle thing or a Campbell thing. When you read
Mhm.
those books, you think they made up the structure. It's really how we experience the medium, and also
Yeah.
to some degree how we experience life. So those are my two advice. Don't rely on a surprise. Put that surprise at the beginning, and then tell me that story. And the second one, don't embrace the classical structure, because it's going to help
Yeah.
you so much.
Man, the classical structure is something that you just it's that phrase of if it isn't broke or if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that the
Yeah,
classical approach
exactly.
is because what I love about the classical approach is that it focuses on simplicity. And they keep it simple. There may be elements to it that's evolved, but the format is so simple. It's literally like one plus one equals two. And I think when it comes to even a vision for a story, so many storytellers out there, myself included, have these ideas that if you were to, I don't know, somehow go inside of their mind, um and I don't know, attach it to different stars in space, it would probably be an endless amount of ideas. Like each idea has another idea that has another idea, and you're like seemingly trying to reach for something to put on paper. Like, I just want to write something. What do I want to write about? And I've learned as a writer, and this may be true for you as well, that the best thing to write about is the one that has like the most burning sensation, like that burning
Yeah.
desire of I really, really need to tell this story. I have all of these ideas, but oftentimes, even again with my experience, that a lot of those ideas that I have doesn't necessarily it's not necessarily the one that all of a sudden that burning desire happens. It might come from a walk in the park. It might just come from sleeping and waking up or taking a shower. Just boom, there it is. There's that idea. Now, I know I'm getting a little bit short on time, so I'll just ask you maybe one or two more
That's
questions
fine. Yeah.
before I let you go. But one thing I gotta ask is, since you've been doing this, right? You've been in this business for some time, working as a screenwriter and as an animator as well. Who are some people that you are hoping to work with, and who are some people that I guess it's like a two-part question. Who are some people that you've worked with that you've taken lessons from, and then who are you looking to work with in the future?
I always bring home lessons from everybody I work with, from the directors of the films I'm co-writing, and seeing different environments. For me, the main source of amazing advice was starting the YouTube channel on Bright for Animation, because I got to really meet top people that had created the films I loved. I remember how surreal it was for me to spend lunchtime with the writer director of the first film I watched in the movie theater, Little Mermaid, and then we had a panel together. I mean, I was moderating the panel at Lightbox Expo, and John Musker, and I learned so much from that conversation and all those panels that we had and all those interviews, and you can do it too on like just by logging on YouTube, that which is fantastic. But for me being there, it's amazing. We interviewed a lot of people from Pixar Animation Studio, and so I got to really absorb the culture and from the studio and learning how story is so important and how they work there. That's definitely, it used to be my dream, to work there. Now, of course,
Yeah.
I will be super happy, to participate in a Pixar film. But I'm also enjoying the indie world. We recently premiered at Tribeca Film Festival our short film, The Piano, where I'm
Yeah.
one of the producers. I'm in the producing team, and it's a young director, Avery Kroll, and she created a story about her relationship with her father, very personal. The short film was created in 2D, and so I'm learning even from new artists that I've definitely learned a lot from her, from our producer in the project, and seeing how we can work together from different parts of the world. And so yeah, the people I got to share conversations on YouTube became mentors, and some of them even friends,
Yep.
and also the getting in touch with a younger generation to see how things are can be done differently, quicker, and more. I love tech, as I mentioned before, so having a team working remotely and creating a short film from 10 different countries was a beautiful experience for me.
Man, that right there is something that I actually like. I strive to be able to do as well. Just one of the things I love about like this format, regardless if this was my show or if I was on your show or anyone's other platform, it's just the connectedness. You where I recently moved. I relocated from California up to the Washington State area back in September of 2024. Right now, at the time of this recording, it's like towards the end of June 2025. And I haven't met anyone around this area that does this, right? That's in this medium of the entertainment industry or in the publishing industry or in the publishing space. So when I get to do things like this and connect with other people on a genuine level of connectiveness, nobody's trying to take anything from anyone. It's a genuine connection. Hey, I love what you're doing, and vice versa. Let's just talk. But it's inspiring, man. It's so inspiring to just sit back and hear these stories that you're saying, and it just gets me excited to know that yeah, like eventually at some point I'm going to be able to be back in the mix, whether I can do it remotely. And it may sound silly, but me even hearing you say that have a team doing it remotely, I didn't even really conceptualize that that's actually a thing. I knew it was prominent during when COVID was happening, but ever since it's been like lifted, everyone's returned back. Not everyone, but most everybody's returned back into the studios and has been recording. And so I got to figure out. Maybe I could talk to you offline and just figure out some ways or advice on how I can get involved in that stuff too. Man,
Absolutely. I think I love that you bring that up. Just very quickly adding that when I was in Italy, I thought that I was very far from the industry. Then when I moved to Mexico, the same feeling was there as well. And then to some degree, you can find yourself very lonely in LA as well. I have many friends in the industry, and they feel isolated even there. So there's always that voice that tells you you're too far. But I've noticed that when you start putting yourself out, and this goes to all of you that maybe you live in a different country or different place where you feel like you're far, you're not alone. There are many people that they think the same. What they need is someone like you, for example, that you start a community online, but also in person. It could be your local cafe and start drawing sessions
Mhm.
every other week, or creating a writing club or something like that. So that's something. So going to an event, even if it's super small, I'm sure that there's something around you that can help you, speaking to your audience as well. I don't think that you need to be in LA or you need to be in New York or big cities to find a good event and connect with other people.
I agree. Well, wholeheartedly agree with you on that. Though those times, those days are seemingly over. Of course, people can still go out to those areas, but it's not a necessity. You can even attend conferences virtually and still make connections that way as well. And we're such a unique time of being able to connect with people and being able to network and being able to just build more relationships with. I've made more like I've met more people in the short time of the lifespan of this show since January than I have met in the last several years just trying to go out and about and meeting different people. So this has been a pleasure. So I guess last thing I'll say is before I let you go is I really appreciate you coming on board and just sharing your knowledge and giving some insight and just being helpful as a whole. You got any closing remarks before I let you go, good sir?
Well, I would tell everyone to just go for it. Start, find your tribe, find your friends, and start creating something. Bring it to life. If you love animation, if you love storytelling in general, because I guess that many of you can appreciate the great storytelling of a Pixar film, for example. You can go to writeforanimation.com and on the YouTube channel and learn a lot for free. It's all free. It's there. Conversations, interviews, lessons, reviews. There's a lot, and if you're a creative person, then you'll find a lot there. And feel free to reach out. I always try to get back to anybody that writes me. It takes me a while sometimes, but I want this community to be real as your community. It was so glad to be here, and thank you so much for this opportunity to sharing with your audience as well.
Of course, and I'm still. It still makes me puts a big smile on my face when I hear people say thank you for this opportunity. Like to me, for you don't ever really think you. Well, you
It
have
is,
ideas
yeah.
of yeah, like you have ideas of hey, like I have a vision, and I don't really have a template to go off of other than, research, but I don't necessarily have like a direct reference of people who I know personally that's done it, who I can call and say, hey, what did you do to get to this point? Or like any advice. So I really look to the internet and people who've done it and people who I look up to and then just kind of just go and start and and yeah, you'll look foolish at the beginning. You may even feel embarrassed or cringeworthy when you look back at your work
I
and you're
know.
like, right? Like I thought I was doing really good back then, but looking at it now, I'm like, oh God, that was terrible. But you
Yeah,
know,
can totally relate to that. Yeah, and they
yes,
still
sir.
feel uncomfortable. But it's not. I think it's not about me. It's about the community, and
Exactly.
it helps with humility to make a fool of yourself, and so it's a
Absolutely.
good way
Yep.
to practice that. And I still
Yep.
make a fool of myself all the time, and
Yeah. Same.
yeah.
Same here. Yes, sir. I
So
think
yeah,
it.
but it's a wonderful journey.
Yes, sir. You just have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's really, I think, what it boils down to.
Exactly.
Just yeah, just be comfortable being uncomfortable, and then if you look foolish, it's not gonna. It's just a part of the movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hey, thank you all
Yeah.
so much for taking the time out of your day to tune into to today's episode. You've been a pleasure, my friend. Please don't go anywhere. I'm just gonna talk to you maybe for like 1 or 2 more minutes afterwards. Other than that, you
Absolutely.
all take
Thank you.
care. Yes, sir. Oh, hey, Brock Swinson, thank you so much for this.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Brock.
much.
You're amazing.
Yeah, Brock,
Thank you.
you're you're the homie, man. Yeah, you all take care, and I'll catch you next time.